Hello, my name is Pragya Vaibhav. I'm a student at Christ Deemed to be University, and the title of my paper is The Indian Media, a Breeding Ground from Islamophobia. So, this is the general overview of my paper, which I'll be talking about in detail in the upcoming slides. So, firstly, I'll talk about the role of media in a democracy. Media is an important stakeholder in keeping the citizens of a country informed and educated, giving them perspectives and lenses to look through. In a democracy, the media is considered to be the fourth pillar after legislature, executive, and judiciary. Thus, its role in the society becomes crucial in keeping a check on the other three bodies. In fact, it is truly said that without an independent and unbiased media, true democracy is unattainable. It is a tool of bringing in positive changes in society, influencing our cultural practices, along with keeping us informed and acting as a communication bridge. In India, there has been a major shift in the activities and ethics of journalism across the years, and at present, the media has become more of a corporate and agenda mongering political enterprise, which is a grave matter of concern for some, but not many, because of the lack of media literacy at the hands of the common public of the country. Since we are talking about Islamophobia, we'll talk about the bigger picture of it, that is, Islamophobia in the West. So, as we all know, that after the 9/11 attacks in the United States of America, the identity of Muslims and Islam changed overnight, and they were now seen with fear, hate, and prejudice, and as the faces of terrorism. Though the incident was not the first one to give rise to the prejudice against the Muslims, it definitely played the role of a catalyst that blew up this aspect of racism and xenophobia towards a religion. The 9/11 attacks, followed by the other terrorist attacks in different parts of Europe and the US, along with the uprising of Islamic State and the terrorist organizations in the country like Syria, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, and other countries in the East and the Middle East, added substance to this narrative. These events affected many people of Muslim identities across the globe, and fear developed amongst the people of other religions towards them. But it is also important to notice that these phenomena were not alone responsible for fear mongering and identity politics of Islam, but media and pop culture too had an important role to play in this entire prejudice and a narrative of Islamophobia in the minds of people. They contributed to it through cultural appropriations, propagation of negative stereotypes about the identity of Muslims, fueling hatred in the atmosphere, and linked Islam to violence, terrorism, massacre, and a threat to the world peace and human society. The picture of prejudice painted of Islam against Muslim is not entirely an organic response to the events of violence, but also a game of politics by the first world countries to keep the oil producing Middle Eastern and Islamic nations under supervision, by itself acting as the savior of the world from the Islamic terror, and the Western media has a huge role in propagating these narratives. Now, when we talk about the face of Islamophobia in India, it is important to understand that Islamophobia finds its roots in the religious politics of the country. India, since its independence in 1947, has been thriving on the Hindu versus Muslim politics. Even though it is a democracy that ought to practice secularism and religious tolerance amongst multiple religions in the country, as stated by the Constitution, contrary to which several events of communal violence have taken place in the name of religion, confining secularism within the pages of Constitution. The far right-wing Hindu extremist bodies in India have been on an anti-Muslim crusade and establishing it as a nation of Hindus for several decades, and now have created communal tensions in the country. The Ram Janmabhoomi conflict has been the fulcrum of Indian politics in contemporary times. The current ruling government in India has always used these conflicts for their political gains and establishment of power in the country. It has inclinations towards establishing India as a Hindu nation and have taken several actions in this direction by openly making hate speeches against Muslims, propagating violence against them by inducing communal riots, and creating hate mongering amongst the common public, and especially Hindus, by using religion as a soft tool to manipulate them towards hating Muslims in this country. The BJP has been pursuing its ideology of nationalism for many years, but been in full action for the past 6 years since it came to power and Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister of India. The country has changed drastically in these 6 years and has seen growing religious intolerance and various phenomena of communal violence against the Muslims. So, but it is also important to understand that are they capable of doing it all by themselves? Or is there someone else who is aiding them in doing so? The answer to it is media. Therefore, we move on to our next slide, which is the corporate interference in Indian media. Corporate interference is a huge obstacle for the free press in India. It has created havoc in the field of journalism, and media has ceased to be an unbiased, communicative, and informative tool. The real and concrete news is not equally accessible to all citizens, as every media outlet serves a paid investor company and thus sells ideology to the customer. In fact, in 2020, almost all the media houses are owned and run by wealthy political leaders and big companies, and are not running on public funding. Therefore, the news and information do not serve the needs of an ideal democracy and its people. The content consumers have been polarized towards different ideologies and facts, and there is not much of a rational opinion, but the fabricated knowledge of what is fed to them at the hands of media, and is a serious matter of concern. The key feature of media and journalism today is unaccountable, bias, and sensational reporting. In order to understand it better as to why does the media succumb to the pressure of their owners, it is necessary to look at the fact that due to the lack of public funding, they have to look up to these corporate entities for advertisements, smooth running of their channels, and cannot go against the body that actually pays for their survival. Also, their owners and their also the owners and their investor companies have inclinations and ties with the ruling party running the government for their own business flourishment, so the ties between the two become unsafe and malicious for democracy. In fact, Mukesh Ambani, the richest man in India, owns many networks such as CNN Network, Network 18, TV 18, which are some of the prime media enterprises in the country. Uh, he alone is not the owner of media houses, but there are other several media houses that are owned by people who have allies with the government. For example, Republic TV, which is more or less the PR tool of the government and the Prime Minister, was started by Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the BJP-backed MP from Rajya Sabha. Therefore, it is important to understand that corporate media does not serve the interest of the public and tends to filter out everything that is not driven by its agenda or comes in the way of it. Corporate-owned media diversifies the direction of the stories driven by political motives and can paint a negative picture of an organization, an institution, or a religion. The very recent example of it is the narrative of the Tukre Tukre from the about the students of the JNU, which is of course which is of course a doctored narrative spread by the media channels, ZTV to be more precise, which has not only created a sense of hatred towards the students uh, without them knowing the truth behind it. Therefore, this leads and it's also important to understand that the advertisements coming from these corporate houses builds the pressure on the media to sell the ideology that they want to. This takes us to our next slide, where we'll talk about how Islamophobia is sold to the audience through fake news and media trials. Fake news these days have become very common. In fact, uh, the source of these fake news are generally the social media bots, where they emerge, but they quickly make their way to the mainstream media channels where they are not fact checked, but instead just presented like that to the audience. Uh, it spreads faster and stays longer than the real and the authentic news. Doctored videos, doctor videos, news incidents are made viral with the aim of an agenda to demonize and detest Muslims. And the worst part about this is that on-ground reporting has been replaced by social media trends. Reporters do rely more on the social media trends and the news that is all over social media rather than fact checking about it, which changes thing to a democracy. Um, and the recent example of it is the attacks on the JNU, the Jamia Millia Islamic University, or the Tablighi Jamaat, where the Corona Jihad narrative was spread all over the India, with where fake videos of Muslims spitting on the fruits, or the fake news about them excreting in the quarantine ward was spread, which was actually not true. So this is not only threat to a particular religion, but also to a democracy. With this, we will now talk about media trials, which is again a great matter of concern for the Indian media. So media trials uh, are the means of media in cases before or after the decision of the court has come to either move the movement in a particular direction or the TRP of newspaper and electronic media channels. Media has forgotten the fundamental gap between an accused and a guilty. Today, it impacts the hundred of news consumers by equating an innocent person or event to a perpetrator, thereby changing the perception of common public and the citizens. News anchors in India have indulged in several media trials during the debates and panel discussions, where a person is deemed guilty merely on the accusation, which often these days are fake and propaganda oriented, and it more often happens in the country when one is minority. The recent example of it is that of Safura Zakir. Now I will move on to my next slide where I'll talk about media literacy. Media literacy, in my opinion, should be made accessible to every individual to understand a larger ideology, to enable people to be more literate towards what they consume through media, is that they should be aware of the source where the news is coming from, what is the ideology behind it, the way it is presented. These aspects are important to understand and to get into the nuances of media literacy. Also, in my opinion, media literacy in India is unattainable if there is no decentralization of media, because media literacy or the understanding of media is still confined to academic places and to people who are accessible to various kind of data, various kind of opinions. So common public uh, does not understand the media literacy or the nuances of it. So it is important to decentralize media and run it on the funding of the government so that media is unbiased, it holds true to the ideals of a democracy. Thank you.